All right. So my name is Justin Walsh. I'm joined here by my counterpart, Walter Tang, and we are from Lenovo. So today, thank you for joining our session. What we're going to be talking about is hacking Domo, but it's face this way. Administration automation. So one of the major things we know with Domo is that it's a wonderful tool. It has a lot of different things it can do. It's an entire platform. It's not just simply a visualization tool. But we know with that comes effort, and a lot of it is administrative effort. So we're going to be going through that today and how we can automate it. So quickly just talk about Lenovo, because I have to, and then we're going to go through what it is that we're going to be showing, and then you are going to see a QR code to where you can actually go to my GitHub if you have your laptop here, and you can take the code that I have there available for you. And you can actually build it while we're sitting here together. If you want to wait until after, then feel free, because there's the entire walkthrough on my GitHub for everything that we're going to be doing today. We're going to go through how to create one automation function, but there's an additional 3 that are there, and we'll show you how to put it together. The code is drag and drop template. Don't worry about it. You don't have to be, I know the course said that it was for advanced. Don't need to be advanced. I've made everything as simple as possible for you. So, introduction. As I said, Justin Walsh. I've been with Lenovo for coming up to 6 years. I am the IDG Global Marketing Data Science Manager. IDG is one section of Lenovo, but I'm part of a cooperative team that manages all of Lenovo's global marketing data. I have my counterpart here, who is going to be assisting me with any sort of questions, because he is our head of our analytics. He's also my stakeholder. So I build things for all of Lenovo marketing, but I also build things for things like our analysts and our engineers and our platform devs, for them to be able to use, like what we're going to go through today. So, quick overview of Lenovo. Global 500 company. I'm sure as everybody knows, we operate in 180 different markets. We are the #1 global laptop manufacturer. So, yay us. And we have many different offices throughout the world. I'm from the Canadian location. In North America, our head office is in Raleigh, North Carolina. All right, platform automation. There's 4 different things we're going to be taking a look at today, but we know that there's so much that you can do with Domo. But a lot of it requires a lot of administrative time and work. So create a dashboard, put cards on it, design those cards, set them up, and then depending upon what you do in your company, you have now this beautiful dashboard, and somebody at a different division wants to have the same dashboard. They just want to have it adjusted on the data set. They want to adjust a couple of the cards, but it's essentially the same. So you go in, you duplicate the dashboard, and then all of a sudden you have a dashboard where all of the cards are duplicated, and it says duplicate of in front of every single card. So you have to go in one by one and remove that. And then hopefully by the end of the day, because you started at 9 a.m. and now at 6 p.m., you got to go home, you got 3 more to do, whatever. So that was this first scenario that we ran into, and we wanted to be able to automate that, essentially to be able to go in, create something that we could just simply identify the dashboard, hit run, it goes, finds the dashboard, finds all the cards, takes every single title, and removes that prefix of it. Perfect. That was my first project. I got it down from taking sometimes an hour, sometimes 6 hours, depending how complex the dashboard is, into under 5 seconds. Wonderful. And we're able to replicate that over and over and over and over again. We took that as a template. We shared it out with the community. Some of you in here may already have it, but we shared it out. And then we decided to take a look and see really what else can we do. And that's where we started taking a look at building a lot of custom functions. And wonderful thing that came around was Code Engine. Code Engine allowed us to be able to hit a lot of the private or public APIs and to be able to do a lot of different things. And then, thank you, at the same time around, wonderful, ChatGPT came out, and we trained it completely on Domo. We extracted Code Engine, showed it Code Engine, trained it all on that, and then started asking questions. And then we just started building. Some of the things that we built are up on this side. which are things like dashboard cleanup, not only going in and removing prefix of duplicate of, but also if you have a dashboard on a single data set, we have another function that goes in and cleans up all the cards, but also at the same time swaps the data set out to the additional data set. So that way, things are nice and quick, and it's, once again, under 5 seconds for what normally would take forever. PDP assignment. That's another one that is available on the GitHub that you have access to, and you'll be able to take a look at that. And what it does is you load up a new data set, you want to match the PDPs, it may be individual users, it may be a lot of groups. We've got Lenovo's global, so we've got data sets with like 80 to 90 PDPs on it. Takes somebody a week to transition over, under 15 seconds. It takes them all, clones them over, perfectly, away we go. And of course, other different things that we're gonna take a look at. So, we did it with Domo. The way that we were able to do it is we decided to use, first off, Code Engine. Wonderful. We go into Code Engine, we create a new package, we set up the package. Perfect. And then we use workflows. We go in, create the workflow that actually calls the package. And then finally, we need an interface to be able to access it. The great thing with Code Engine is we don't have to use an interface. You can go into Code Engine and simply run it, and it'll have the pop-up. But if you want to have something that you can give your additional users and everything, it makes life a little bit easier, and they don't have to be so technical, which is what we're going to show, you can actually go ahead and create that with App Studio and with DDX Bricks to actually call the workflow. Once again, all of this is written out for you in GitHub to exactly do what I'm telling you, which is right here. So feel free, take a picture. I'll also be outside after if you want a direct link. Feel free to come up to me. But from here, we'll take you directly to what we're going to be talking about in the presentation today, with the full walkthrough on how to do it, as well as each of the individual code packages, including the Code Engine and the DDX Brick templates for the drag and drop template code is already in there. So we're going to, yes, we're going to right to the live demo. That's me. So let's take a look. And I'm going to be, wait, what? Oh, there we go. Sleeping laptop. So this is an example of what we're going to be able to build. Now, I decided at the time to build this using DDX Bricks. Why? Because App Studio had just really come out, and it was pretty cool. But what App Studio gave me the ability to do is just simply pop on a page and then throw a button on it. And then I assign the button to take it to go to a card and have that set up as a pop-up, which means that now I'm able to constantly build on more and more and more different functions and bricks onto it. But if your choice is to use Pro Editor, you can always use Pro Editor too. But for users and for me, for simple, I just want things simple. Just put it in and away you go. App Studio is the easiest piece for me. Now, we're going to walk into the actual code so I can show you how to build it. But the question's always going to be, where did the code, like, how did I figure out what are the right calls to use and things like that? Well, there is a site right here. How many people have ever seen the Data Crew site yet for Mr. Jay Wilson? Yes, yeah. Jay Wilson is awesome. If you've seen him on possibly YouTube and such like that, he was one of the people that I really first connected with to try and understand things about Domo. This is his site, and the wonderful thing that he has documented is he has a Postman setup in here with a large amount of the private API locations and calls that are in here, with the walkthrough of how to actually authenticate to each level. They're great. One great thing about Code Engine is you don't actually need to really, for the most part, authenticate the things. You can get into it. But for everything you can think of, like if I wanted to be able to query a data set with SQL, here it is. And if you know, all you need to do is you want to adjust your different language, you want to copy it out, and away you go. So there's also a link to that in the presentation also. So what are we going to do? We're going to actually I'm going to build one of these together to show you how simple it is. So what we do is we take a DDX brick, load it up, a specific DDX brick, load it up, and then go to GitHub, get the code, paste it in. Go to Code Engine, create new package, pop it in, and then go to Workflow, pop it in, and then join them all together. So all of these are linked right here in my GitHub. Here's the individual packages. The one that I'm going to work with today is revoke page access. And the reason why is, I don't know if anybody noticed, however, this is wonderful, because I was going to use the remove duplicate of from a DDX brick, and yet, okay, I will show you. This is wonderful. I just saw it today. Check that out. Duplicate card of other app name. Oh, it's not in there. All right, never mind. Just dashboards. It was in apps earlier today, but just dashboards. So they've released out the ability to choose or not add a prefix to a card when you duplicate dashboards. So wonderful. Hopefully that'll be on app shortly. It was there this morning. It's not now. That's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the revoke page access. So first thing we're going to do is drop in the Code Engine template. So I'm going to go here, grab the Code Engine from the JavaScript text, and away we go. So I'm just going to, why am I going to highlight it? All right, I'm going to copy it. And then what I'm going to do in here is simply click on New Package. We're going to give it a quick name, New Package 1. And you can go ahead and give it a description, but we're going to choose JavaScript. And then we're just going to create the new package. The way that we set these things up is I take code, I make workflows in code instead of actual workflows. So my workflows are very simplistic, but the code has to be simplistic also. So one thing you'll notice in my code, the type of templates, and you can steal my idea too, is that each parameter is simply param1, param2, param3, param4, instead of having funky large names. I know that's not the greatest way to code. It's the way that I code. So param1, and you'll see shortly why that's important. So I drop it in, and then there we go. But we got the red, of course. So we have param1. Now we need to assign what type it is. So it's going to be text. And then our output is going to simply be a Boolean and done. Boolean, yes, no. We'll just call it done. There we go. And we hit done. Everything's good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save and deploy. And confirm. Oh, we got an error. Either one of the function, please check. Oh, of course. Hold on. Here we go. So from in here, I know param1 works. For me, because of the code, I know param1 is a dashboard address. Just simply out of HTTP, I know it's a dashboard address. So let's see if it's going to push through. For those of you who use this a lot, you know this happens every once in a while. No? All right. We will go back. And trust me, it works. Next piece we have to do is the workflow. So the way that a workflow we set up is just go ahead, drop in a blank workflow, and we'll just give it a name. New workflow 1, sure. Oh, I'm not on the Lenovo network, so it's not going to let me run stuff, but that's fine. So the way that I set these up is that all of my workflow happens in the code, which means that setting up workflows, all it's doing is accepting an inbound parameter from your card, and then takes that, passes it to Code Engine, process, and done. So my workflows are very simplistic. We're going to do general start. We're going to go ahead, add the parameter, which what we said is param1. And it's simply going to be a text parameter. And add parameter. Next piece is to call the workflow. And we are going to use custom function. And I've already got one, which is revoke. Nope. Delete page, yep, revoke page access. And that's the one that I want to pick in. Well, like I said, we're not going to run it, but here we go. Add to automation. And then finally, this one here is just going to simply be end. Gonna go ahead and name it end. Beautiful. And now over here, we've got this. It's param1. It's looking for page ID, which is param1. At this point, I can go ahead and I can save and deploy. Now it's ready. The last thing I do, if I want to stop with this piece and just have it as a raw brick, is to simply look for this one DDX brick. This is the one that, when I was first building this, Dan Hendrickson was like, hey, you could use this. So I used this for all of it. So going into here, once again, there's a link in GitHub directly to this brick, or if you want, you can go to the App Store, search Workflow Start Form, away you go. If you're using the ProCode editor, you can just simply go to Templates, look up Workflow Start Form, it's there also, and just go ahead and install it. Once it's installed, you will have your brick ready to go. And we will go to the revoke, which is right here, and then edit. First thing we do is we go right into here in workflow, and we click on this, and then we select the workflow that we just created. It's a single function, so we don't have to worry about checking around and clicking on different things. We open that function and set it. The next piece is we copy all of the contents from JavaScript, and then we paste it into JavaScript. Just paste over. We do the same with the HTML file, and then we do the same with the CSS. We then go ahead, give it a name, and we save and finish. And at that point, we now have a functional brick that we can use that will go ahead and do what the function is. This function, the revoke page access, what it does is it goes to a dashboard or an app, and it removes every single user from that except for the owners. It leaves the owners there. That's what we just set up. If you need help setting it up, I'm obviously going to be here later, but there's multiple different there's 4 different packages that are in the GitHub that you can go ahead and use. And having them on a single page here works great. However, the reason why I use App Studio is go ahead, set up a new app, but then all I need to do, if I want to add on to something, is I just take a button, throw it in, style it however you want, because nobody uses a button this skinny. We click on it, we go to Action, and then open a card and pop-up, and now I'm selecting that specific app that we want to put in. So let's just say another Dan Hendrickson piece, the ETL data input swap. That, save, and now I've just taken it. I should have gave it a name, but by clicking on it, now I've got a new functional brick. And as I build them, I keep adding them into App Studio. And then, of course, as things happen and Domo advances and things like we release the code to the community and the community loved the deduplication of a dashboard and stuff, to where they launched it this morning. So, do we need it anymore? No. So now I can go ahead, edit it, remove the button, and now I don't have to worry about it because it's in platform. And you're able to do the same. So, that's how we set up things to basically set up all different types of functions. You can see there's a bunch of different ones in here that we do and we use on a regular basis at Lenovo. 4 ones that we want to be able to push to a lot of our different users. But then, of course, because you don't need to necessarily use a brick, you can build those custom pieces inside of CodeEngine and run them inside of CodeEngine if you want to be able to do that. Where we run about, I think we're up to about 50 different custom code processes that help us manage the platform and change things from people like my colleague Walter, who has to go in and clone PDPs and clone and adjust dashboards, move things around and all that type of stuff. Instead of doing the admin side, he's able to do what he's been really hired to do, and that's build wonderful visuals that give our internal stakeholders the insights that they need in the way that they need it. So, can you customize? Yes, 100%. Is everything open to you? Not everything, but almost everything is available. You can do through CodeEngine. And Now you have code you can walk away with to be able to set it up on your platform and actually start working with it. So I'm going to go to my next slide. Perfect. So again, if you don't have the link, you can definitely go ahead, take another picture of it, grab the link. Just reiterate, step 1, create new JavaScript code engine package. Unless you enjoy Python and you want to adjust it, feel free. Step 3, create and deploy new work. Where's my step 1? Oh, step 1 was the previous slide. That's right. So create new deploy workflow. Step 4, start the workflow DDX brick. And step 5, edit and paste the code in. From there, you can expand, you can scale on it as much as you want. And for those of you I've talked to before in the forums and the community and stuff like that, or on calls, you know, I love scaling. I love doing everything that I can with Domo to automate stuff. And believe it or not, I don't have to write 90% of the code. It's already there in Domo. There's bricks that I've extended out in Domo to do so many different things. There's code engine functions that are already there. It's just a single function. Instead, I take the 2 functions and I combine them into a workflow. And I have one function works to the next in a daisy chain so that they get through to the end. And that's how I build 90% of the stuff that I do. It's not a lot of the time, maybe 15% of the time, it's custom code that I write. The rest of it is basically coming from already in Code Engine, or from Jay Wilson, where he was here, so I could thank him and hug him in front of everybody. But from his Data Crew site, it's wonderful that's there, and I use that. Or if there's something that isn't publicized or anything yet, what I'll do is for those of you who know, you can go into developer tools in your browser, and then just click on network to scan the network. First, clear it, and then do a function. And it will tell you what call happened. And then you can take that, and if you know how to code, you can start working with it, or you can take it out, put it into ChatGPT, and ask it what to do. Sounds good? And of course, shout out, everybody saw the site, but here is the link to his site. Trust me, if you want to learn automation, to make your lives easier and such, grab that. Absolutely wonderful guy. And if you see him walking around, shake his hand. He's wonderful too. He's not the only one in the community. The community is absolutely wonderful. But yes, I have to thank him for getting me onto this side of things. And, sorry? Step 1 is a picture. There you go. Step 1 is go get the code. Now also, just as an added bonus, that there is the link to the presentation documentation we have for here. If you go one step back to the front of my GitHub, there's also a few custom bricks examples that you can go ahead and just use. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about it today, but I think they're pretty cool. All right, well, that's step 1, 3, 4, 5, shout out time, and Q&A. Oh, we actually... All right, so we've got, well, I kind of flew through that. So we got 15 minutes for Q&A, roughly. Walter is going to be here to assist me with any sort of questions, but if you have any questions, we do have somebody walking around with a microphone. Just make sure, raise your hand, they'll come to you, but please don't ask a question until you get the microphone, because I'm going to end up having you repeat it anyway, so yeah.
Hey, Justin, a couple questions right here. So
under the light, of course, perfect, hold on.
Out of all the custom functions that you guys have built so far, which ones have saved you the most time? And then what are you guys currently working on today? Like, what's the future of what you guys are building out?
I will tell you the one that I like best, and then Walter's my actual stakeholder, so he uses these daily. So I'll let him answer those ones. My one that I think saves the most time, and I absolutely love it, is the dashboard cleanup, the deduplication of a dashboard. I used to use it constantly, although today I'm not going to be needing to use it anymore, but I use it constantly to where I release it to the community, and hopefully other people release things to the community, type of stuff like that, because you can see I release it to the community, and then Domo says, hey, customers say, hey, and then they make it an actual feature. Wonderful. But you, sir?
Yeah.
Oh.
I guess that's
We forgot to ask for a second mic.
too close to Justin, but okay. Good question. I gotta be honest with you, and before I answer your question, he's too humble. This is amazing. It saves me a lot of time. He is actually the reason why my week went from 60 hours to 20. So if you guys don't see me next year here, you know why.
Oh, here we go.
Thank you.
Technology.
To answer your question now, more seriously now, it's a little bit of the combination of the list that he has there. To name a few, the cloning of the PDP from one dashboard or one schedule report to another one has been amazing. We have, in particular, I can mention an example of a schedule report that has over, I think it was 99 PDPs. And if you have done a PDP before, you know that you have to like add the person to it or the group to it. And it could take me literally, I'm not gonna lie, probably 2 or 3 days just doing that and just that. Now it's just one click, basically seconds. And I think the only one that you have to add is just add the all rows. That PDP you have to do manually, but other than that, you're done. The cloning of the user, amazing. You just add the user profile number to it, the person who you want to clone, the person you are cloning or the recipient, and what you're doing is you add that new person to any existing group that the other person that you just cloned it from is, and also takes the PDP from that person to the second user. So amazing stuff as well. I use that one at least 1 or twice a day. Yeah, there are many examples. Like I said, he's just too humble. He's been saving me a lot of time. Like this stuff that he just showed, we've been using for about a year maybe. You know, and Domo just released it this year, so he's ahead of the game. I'm not gonna lie. So we're lucky to have him. Yeah.
So what are we working on that we're happy about now? Yeah, new user management. So we have set up a process, and Walter was the brain behind this process, to where we have, Lenovo's massive, so we have a lot of different users trying to come on board as we hire on new people and such like that. So we have a custom form to where somebody's able to request access to Domo. They request it, kicks off a workflow, takes a look for who they report to, sets off a approval system to that manager, puts them through, adds them to the correct PDPs, pushes over to Walter, Walter approves the process. And now they're on Domo with the right access to their dashboards and stuff like that. Because of how complex Lenovo is, from our, our business unit verticals to, individual geographies to countries and stuff, we're not able to use technically the automation of regular PDP that Domo sets up. We had to do custom setup. And thankfully, with Code Engine, with Workflow and custom form, we've been able to achieve that. So yeah, it's great for us because now we don't have to manually do it.
Automation is like key for us.
Yes. Question?
Hello. One of the things that I've seen, hiding in the back. One of the things that I've seen Jay warn about sometimes in the community is that for those private undocumented APIs, they're not necessarily guaranteed to be supported going forward. Wondering, with leveraging a lot of those, have you ever run into anything that's just stopped working? I've used several of them and have not had any problems, but you've used more than I have. So just wondering your experience.
It happens. It does happen. So there are times where something will work, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, it doesn't work, and then sometimes magically works again a couple minutes later. And it does happen. So it's the way that we make sure to basically try and combat that type of stuff is that when we deliver these type of things to our users, first off, we make sure that they know the long way and the proper way of how to do it. That way, anything that we build really for shortcutting, it doesn't overtake the old way of doing things. And that's how when we release new tools and stuff like that, we don't actually remove the old process. We give them still the access to do the process. One of the great things, though, is that with these type of things, so the private APIs, is really just monitors what Domo is actually doing, which is inside of CodeEngine. So as a lot of those pieces in CodeEngine, which is where I would start first with, is look at what's available in CodeEngine and the actual functions and where they call to. As those processes update, the packages update, which is great. Domo's been great for updating those packages for the most part. So we haven't really, using CodeEngine, had issue where package functionality has stopped yet. Like I said, so for the majority of these, the ones that we showed publicly here, we've been running these for about a year now, and we haven't had a problem with it. And Domo's gone through all kinds of updates and new features and stuff like that. Is it going to happen? Of course. But because we use CodeEngine to do most of this stuff, we don't have to worry about authentication issues. Everything's on platform, in platform, and all the packages are basically solid for the mass majority of the time. But when it happens, give me your email. I can have somebody to complain to.
Another question, right here.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
All right.
So a question about when you're duplicating dashboards and creating, sister dashboards off of already existing, how do you kind of manage that in a governance way? So, you might have 3 or 4 children dashboards. How do you kind of manage that and remember, if there's a change on this one, how does it propagate?
So we've actually had that request happen, is to, first off, how do we duplicate a dashboard and the entirety of it? Its parent through its children, as well as, adjusting all the cards and flipping the data sources and stuff. The more complex the setup, the harder it is, definitely. We're able to do that whole parent-child duplication and to be able to run the codes against it. But it does become complex to where we set up kind of basically an entity relationship diagram that shows us these are the dashboards we have, these are the relationships to them, so that we're not just simply depending upon a side menu or the Domo, here's every app that exists unless you haven't favorited. So we set that up so that we're able to easily identify on a regular basis what dashboards exist, where do they belong to. Because we release things not just to individual users and groups, but we also have tiered stakeholder groups. So C-level dashboards, geo heads, stuff like that. So having those all together and documented with the actual flow path from one to the other and where the audience is for it, is we keep it documented so that we have that going forward.
Yeah, so that's a big goal.
I can see you though, without the, so this is perfect.
Good to hear. That's a big goal for us this year, is we've built out so many dashboards, so many different areas where everyone's got all this information, and we're working on data governance, but the biggest problem right now is communicating what's out there so that we're not duplicating a lot of that work. And what you just said sounded like you've built out a map of where these branching dashboards are.
Yes.
And I'd like to ask, how? Is that purely manual? Or is there some way that you're better managing that and aware of and see that relationship so that that can be published to the wider company?
Yeah, so we've tackled it in different ways. We have visualizations that we use, but then we also have, if I share my screen quickly, since we have 5 minutes. There we go. Do we? We did. There it is. We have an ecosystem page that we set up specifically for our users. It's a 3-pillared page so that our users are able to get to it. And each one of these is basically a type of dashboard. We have the about for it so that it explains what the dashboard is, as well as what data sources things come from, and a run through of the dashboard itself. So we have that for campaign performance, business tracking, operational style dashboards, and each of these is set up so that our users, this is their landing page, so that when they come into Domo, this is where they go to, and these are the primary reports that people look for, either on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, depending upon the usage that they've been set up for. This is how we manage the majority of the ecosystem on a custom app set to this, which we know that Domo is setting up improved navigation when coming forward and such like that, and we might be able to use that going forward. But for now, this is how we set it up, is our own custom ecosystem page. Okay. Don't get me wrong, there's a, sorry? So We added to a backend web form data set, honestly. We added just simply, here it is, here's the link and everything. And then when we have users request access to a dashboard, that's an automated process that goes through. Their manager, just like requesting access to Domo, they request access to a dashboard. It goes to their manager, they approve, and then it flows through all of the systems. And then as long as everything's good, they get access. Sounds good.
I think we have time for one last question if anyone has anything.
One last question. Or we could just sit here and put our head on the table and wait the other 3 minutes if you want, like in school. Oh, we do have one more break person. All right.
Completely related, but I know you mentioned talking about authentication. As long as it's within Code Engine, within Domo, using the Domo API, you don't have that issue. But have you ever tried using external APIs, which are still private, and you'd require authentication for that? Do you have any?
Yeah, I use them all the time.
In the Code Engine, though?
Sorry?
In the Code Engine?
No, I don't drive to Code Engine externally, but I'll use Python to go through. I'll use, the CLI tool to get in. My preferred is Python. I use PyDomo for a bunch of stuff, or I use Python requests and build, the custom code myself to do a lot of things. Jay Wilson also has Domo library, a custom Python package that he's built that you may be able to get access to. You'd have to ask him. But there is a lot of different ways to be able to work with the internal and the external API, or the public and private APIs through authentication. And one great thing is I'm not sharing, but the Data Crew site actually tells you how to do that. So there's a way to get in using your client secret key. There's also how to get in through generic OAuth username password. There's all kinds of different ways that you can do it to get in, and they are split out into the different types of authentication elements. But of course, wonderful, the first one is how to authenticate. So it's covered, which is how I first really started focusing on getting in, and then just simply tried to see how far I can take it and if I can break it.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
I think so, but I'm not fully sure.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Or
All right.
we're great.
Well, thank you very much, everybody.